Hello, my name is Justin Smith, and I am the current agriculture teacher here at the Floyd County School of Innovation. And our KVEC grant project was titled Mountains of Produce, and it is a raised bed gardening project that we have come up with here for the school. So our inspiration for the project was that we really want to get students in the building, engaged and getting to experience some hands-on learning opportunities with this project. Agriculture is a very hands-on topic, and so we really wanted our new students for this new program to be able to experience that. One of our other goals was to engage the community. So through this project, once we get it completely done and start to harvest our crops, we'd love to be able to engage the community by selling them farm fresh or raised bed fresh vegetables from right here in Floyd County. And then I wanted the students to be able to gain a sense of ownership and pride over this project because in the program's first year here, these students have went above and beyond in getting us off on the right foot. And they really have knocked pretty much everything we've done this semester and last semester out of the park. And I knew that they would be able to handle this project really well. And I think that they were the perfect bunch to kind of spearhead this time for our raised beds. So they've done a great job, and I think they've really taken it and ran with it too. So our purpose, again, was we wanted to make sure we're teaching work ethic and hard work over kind of along with our standards and make it a little more hands-on just because classroom instruction is very important, but it can be kind of monotonous and boring at times. So we wanted to take what we're learning in the classroom and transplant that to outside, whether that was in our raised beds or in our container farm or any other way we can. And then we definitely wanted to help students build some skills they can use later on in life. Most of my students can and have capabilities and already planning to have gardens or raised bed gardens at their own homes, which is pretty cool. So they can definitely use these skills further down the road, as well as coming up with this growing season. So the money was spent to purchase materials to build the raised beds. We actually built a kind of like a starter kit. So it is just kind of some sheet metal that was molded into like an oval shape, which really fits our style here in Floyd County well, because we're up on top of a hill. And so if we should need to move these raised beds or reuse them or anything like that, we have the capability to do so with the ones that we bought. So it was a really good purchase, I think, for using our grant funds for this first year. And I can definitely see us reusing them every year as part of my greenhouse class. We bought some garden tools just to start off with, and that'll help us work with the soil. It'll help us keep the weeds down and manage those weeds, and allow students kind of to see what each tool is used for and why we need those if we're having a garden. Then we bought some seeds, soil, and fertilizer. We made sure that we got everything we needed for the plants to grow properly. And then lastly, bought a water hose and a spray nozzle just in case Mother Nature doesn't take care of the watering for us. We will have the capabilities to make sure they have plenty of water and that we're all set on that front. So that is how we spent our grant money. So moving on to the planning. This is where the bulk of the work was done and started to be done by the students. So the students were the ones that chose what vegetables we were going to grow. We actually had a seed ID project where the students had to kind of look at cards, identify what seeds what plants in the pictures would match with the seeds on the cards. And they did really well with that. And so that helped them kind of figure out what plants they wanted to grow. And we talked about what was there a market for in Floyd County, what would people like to eat or buy to eat the most. And that helped in their decision. And I'll tell you more about what vegetables we're growing later. Students selected the raised bed location. We learned in class about kind of the weather patterns and our growing season here in Kentucky and how many hours of daylight we have. And then we went outside and we actually just looked where the sun was hitting during our class. And that helps students decide, like, okay, well, we need to probably put the raised beds towards the back part of the school because they get the most sun there, which was a very good idea. So that is where we ended up putting them, and you'll see some pictures very soon. Students research the plant sizes to determine the proper spacing. So we want to make sure that plants have plenty of spacing. And when we were measuring out the raised beds, we wanted to make sure that they had plenty of room to walk around the raised beds because we will need to work on them or work in them in the future. And then finally there, the students measured and cut landscape cloth that we placed under the raised beds. And this will kind of do one main thing for us, and that is to keep the weeds from coming up from under the raised beds to the top. So we wanted to make sure that we're trying to control our weed problem as much as we can. And we thought that landscape cloth would be a good experiment this year, and we'll see if it works. So if it doesn't work, then we'll definitely reuse the raised beds and try something new next year and see if we can't get that to remedy our weed problems. So that was the bulk of our planning. Here is the seed identification project we did in class. We took a day and kind of looked at the seeds and talked about seed identification and seed parts and anatomy. And then we identified some of the common vegetable seeds that you would have grown in the garden around here. So those are students in class working in groups to figure out what seeds match up with what vegetables or fruits. And then we have next how students were assessed. So we assessed students throughout the project based on their active participation. They had to help assemble the raised beds, which was really good for them. We had instructions and they had to read the instructions and decide how the pieces fit together. And they used tools to put those pieces together, which was really interesting. And they got to do a lot of hands-on learning with that, actually putting together raised beds, which was great. And then the preparation of raised beds was also really hands-on because we were mixing soil. We actually mixed some sand with our soil, and we had a whole soil science lesson about that and why we needed some of that sand just to make sure the water could move through the soil without staying in it and causing too much moisture to build up. And so the students really enjoyed mixing the soil up and then putting it into the raised beds. Classroom instruction has supplemented our project all the way through. I tried to keep my lessons geared towards what we were doing with the raised beds so that everything will kind of fit together as we move through this semester. And then students are going to write a final reflection for this project as a wrap up. So that'll be kind of like the main overarching assessment for the students. And as I said before, they've been assessed throughout the whole time with their participation and any handouts or activities we've done in class that have went along with our classroom instruction. So here's some pictures of the raised bed assembly. So you can see I've had a couple of different classes working on this when we were going through it. So they were working in large groups to kind of put each raised bed together. And they did a fantastic job reading instructions, making sure that they were being safe with some of the tools and pliers they were using, and getting these things put together. And then this is what the finished product looks like. We think these will be great for us again because we can pick them up and move them every year if we need to. So if this spot, particularly on our school grounds, doesn't work out, we can move them somewhere else and try again. So it's not like this is kind of like a stationary, one and done type of deal. So I'm pretty happy that we were able to get the grant and purchase this specific raised bed kit. Here is a picture of the students placing and filling our raised beds up. So we, as you can see, we used a wheelbarrow to mix the soil. We had some of the students with shovels there mixing it up and then placing it into our raised bed. So again, it is at the back of our school where hopefully it gets the most sunlight. And we used just straight up raised bed soil mix But in the future, I think it'd be a very cool project to actually do different soils for each raised bed and have the students kind of experiment with which soil produced the best plants. So that may be something to look forward to next year and years to come. There are no pictures of us planting seeds yet or of our harvest because if you are a gardener or have started a garden, then you probably have just started your garden or are thinking about it or are about to, because our weather has been crazy, and we have also kind of waited until the last week of April or early May to plant, just because that's when we think it'll be the best for our vegetables. We do plan to do things a little bit differently, though. We will not start our seeds in the raised beds. We will actually start our seeds in our App Harvest container farm. So they get a really great start, and then we will transplant them over to the raised beds to make sure that they are going to get the best start possible. And then the students have decided that we will plant tomatoes, two varieties: beefsteak, which is like your sandwich or burger tomato, and then Roma tomatoes, which are kind of like smaller and oval looking little tomatoes. And then we will plant cucumbers, banana peppers, and one I left off here that we may or may not plant. The students haven't decided if we have any room, but some collard greens. There was a couple boys that like collard greens. They said they wanted to plant some. So that one may be planted, may not. We'll see. And then for the raised bed management, how we're going to keep working with the project. Again, we use the grant funding to purchase garden tools, which will be used to manage the weeds and turn the soil over to make sure our plants are in the best conditions possible. Students are going to continuously be working to manage our plants, prune them back, make sure no insects are getting at them. That was a big unit we just got through, was the Integrated Pest Management, IPM unit. And so we looked at kind of different insects that attack plants and garden vegetables. And so now our students are ready to keep an eye out for those type of things. And then students will attend scheduled garden work days in the summer to manage our raised beds and harvest our crop. So we'll schedule some days throughout the summer where they can come in, work in the garden, work in the container farm, and harvest our vegetables, and hopefully get some good work experience and some good hours in at school. So to market our vegetables, we plan to sell our vegetables to our local community members, whether that be just through word of mouth or the local farmers market. And I'm currently working on connecting with our farmers market here in Floyd County. And then the students will also create a social media post about on our FFA Facebook page to advertise our vegetables. So we have some awesome students who are also our chapter FA officers, and they will be kind of in charge of running our FA Facebook page to advertise what we've done and what we have for sale. So the students will be deciding the price points on those vegetables based off of current value at the store and kind of what it costs for us to actually produce the vegetables themselves. So next year, we kind of have all this stuff already made with like a price list and all that good stuff. Okay, so that brings me to the future plans. Again, this project was super fun to lead and see the students go through this semester. I think we will definitely continue to use this each year, so long as I'm teaching the greenhouse technology class. It's a great project for them to get their hands on with some gardening skills. I think the students have definitely enjoyed it. They enjoy being outside, getting some hands-on learning in. And most of them, like I said earlier, have told me that they plan to use some of the stuff we've learned in class with their own gardens. So we did soil tests, and we tested their own garden soil and all this extra fun stuff that we've done with our raised bed project. So I think it's turned out really great. And I definitely plan to use it again in the future.